Hi, welcome back once again to CBSE Board Economics. I'm Saddam Hussain. We welcome you all. Today, look at the board. We are discussing a very important topic. We're discussing extension and contraction in demand. Look at the board. Extension, we call it also as expansion in demand and contraction in demand. And the same thing, we can call it also movement along the demand curve. Why do we call it movement? Because we keep moving along the same demand curve, up and down. Let's see what exactly is extension and contraction in demand. You've seen it. Now I'll explain in detail. Demand for a commodity is affected because of many factors. We discussed it earlier. So it can be price of the commodity, it can be income of the consumer, it can be the prices of related goods, it can be changes in taste, preferences and habits of the consumer, it can be many other host of factors. Now, why are we discussing once again here when we talk about extension and contraction in demand, movement along the demand curve, we're talking about price. How does, when the price changes, the quantity demanded is affected? It's exactly same like law of demand. We already learned in the law of demand there is inverse relationship or opposite relationship between price and quantity demanded. Same thing we are repeating once again. What exactly is extension and contraction in demand? Keep in mind, extension and contraction in demand takes place only, again repeat, only because of changes in price, not because of any other factors affecting demand, such as changes in income of the consumer, changes in taste and preferences, changes in the price of related goods, changes in weather conditions, changes in economic condition. No, none of those factors are not affecting this. So there are two things here. Look at this one here. Expansion, look at the board. Extension, also we call it as expansion in demand, and contraction in demand. And this is also, they can ask you as movements along the demand curve. Why do we call it movement here? Look at this one. We have downward movement, upward movement. We move along the same demand curve. You'll be shortly following it. That's why it's called movement along the demand curve. Movements along the demand curve takes place only because of the changes in price. Extension and contraction in demand takes place only because of changes in price. Look at this, there are two things here. Look at this carefully. The number one, you have extension in demand. Follow this here. What exists exactly extension in demand? With the fall in price of the commodity, if the quantity demanded goes up, that we call it as expansion in demand, or expansion or extension in demand. With the fall in price has come down from 10 to 5, the quantity has gone up from 10 to 20, that is extension in demand. Graphically, we can show it here. Look at the graph here. On the x-axis, we got quantity demanded. Y-axis, we got the price. DD is the demand curve. When the price is OP, high price, the quantity demanded is Q. We are at this point here. This is the point A. The quantity demanded is Q because the quantity is very less. The price has come down from OP to OP1. It has come down. See the arrow here. The quantity has gone up from OQ to OQ1 here. So that means the demand curve expanded here from A to B. That's a movement here, expansion in demand. So earlier it was not visible. Now this has expanded here from A to B. That's the demand. This is called downward movement. We are moving downward along the same demand curve at expansion and demand curve. Look at this one. Extension and contraction in demand takes place only because of changes in price. We call it movement because of we move upwards or downwards along the same demand curve. What exactly is extension demand? With the fall in price, if the quantity demanded goes up, that's called extension in demand. Price has come down from OP to OP1, quantity has gone up from Q to Q1. There is expansion along the demand curve from A to B. Now let's see the other graph here, contraction in demand. The other way around, look at this one. The price has gone up from 5 to 10. Obviously, when the price goes up, according to law of demand, the quantity demand will come down from 20 to 10. This is called contraction demand. Demand has contracted. With the rise in price, if the quantity demand comes down, that's called contraction demand. Look at the graph here. On the x-axis, quantity demanded. On the y-axis, we got, this is your x-axis, quantity demanded. Y-axis, we got the price. DD is the demand curve. When the price is very low here, OP, the quantity, look at this one. The price is OP, quantity is OQ. You are at this point A here. So what happened to the price? Price has gone up from OP to OP1. The quantity has come down from QQ to OQ1. There is contraction in demand here. What movement you have? Here we write it as there is upward movement along the demand curve. That means there is contraction in demand. Here the demand curve has contracted. So if you make the comparative study, expansion, look at this graph, expansion and contraction in demand. Extension or expansion in demand takes place because of fall in price. Look at the other side. Contraction in demand takes place because of rise in price. The next one you have, in case of expansion in demand, the demand curve moves downward. We move along the same demand curve, A to B. That means there is expansion in demand. We are moving downwards along the same demand curve. In case of contraction, look at this one. We're moving upwards along the same demand curve from A to B. This is downward movement, that is upward movement here. Expansion in demand, that is contraction in demand. It's a very clear case. Please follow it here. Differentiate between extension or expansion and contraction in demand, or explain the movement along the demand curve, or we call it also as change in quantity demanded. The quantity demanded changed here. Extension and contraction in demand is only due to changes in price and not due to other factors affecting demand, such as changes in the price or changes in the income of the consumer, changes in the taste and preferences, changes in the price of related goods, etc. It's also called movement along the demand curve because we move up and down along the same demand curve because of changes in the price, or it is also called as change in quantity demanded. Extension in demand, if the quantity demanded rises with the fall in price of a commodity, it is called extension or expansion in demand. Here we move downwards or rightwards along the same demand curve. This is shown in the below schedule and graph. In the below schedule, as the price goes down from 10 to 5, the quantity demanded has gone up from 10 units to 20 units. In the graph, on the x-axis, quantity demanded. On the y-axis, price is taken. When the price is OP, look at the graph, the quantity demanded is OQ. Because of fall in price from OP to OP1, the quantity demanded has gone up from OQ to OQ1. There is a downward movement along the demand curve from point A to B. This is expansion of the demand curve. Contraction in demand, when the quantity demanded falls with a rise in price, it is known as contraction of demand. Here we move upwards or leftwards along the same demand curve. This is explained with the help of a schedule and graph. Look at the schedule. In the above schedule, the price has gone up from 5 to 10. As a result, the quantity demanded has gone down from 20 units to 10 units. In the above graph, on the x-axis, quantity demanded, and on the y-axis, the price is shown. The price has gone up from OP to OP1. As a result, the quantity demanded has gone down from OQ to OQ1. There is upward movement along the same demand curve, or contraction in demand curve, or leftward movement from point A to B. So this is a very clear case. Extension and expansion in demand takes place only because of changes in price, not because of changes in any other factors affecting demand, such as change in the prices of related goods, income of the consumer, taste and preferences. With the fall in price, the quantity demanded goes up. That's called expansion in demand. We move downwards along the demand curve. With the rise in price, the quantity demanded comes down. That's called contraction in demand. We move upwards along the demand curve. This is also called as movement because we're moving along the demand curve. This is also change in quantity. Change in quantity is taking place only because of changes in price, not because of any other factor. That's all we have time for this very important concept in microeconomics. So don't forget to share, subscribe, like, comment, and also press the bell icon to get future notifications or informative videos. They'll help you for this exam as well as your future exams. Thank you guys. Till we meet next time, take proper care. Goodbye.